we are back again and using Suburban Base. We are very far and we are now in the stage that we are creating presets. So now I'm just fiddling around. So I have the new Suburban Base 2. I'm just testing now. And yeah, before I move to Suburban Base 2 and tell a bit more about it, we released today an update for Raw Kick, and Raw Kick is pretty popular among the hardcore and EDM producers. They like it a lot, and that's cool. And so let's show it to you. And what we did in Raw Kick, we had some little bugs and we added some new features. Some of the bugs which appeared in some host we solved, which had to do with the dial thing. And now on the back panel, there's an additional feature. And you see here, we have MIDI program chains, and there is the faster graphics. If you put that on, you have a bit faster graphics, and depends on your computer. And if you put that off, if you notice that these graphics sometimes are getting sloppy, then maybe your graphic card is not as fast. I don't know what is exactly causing it. And then you can have it shut down. So if now you have the fast graphics here, this is the kick, and we added the, you can see it here, the menu, which you also find in Blade 2 in the upper right corner. There's this little menu which we have now in all our plugins, also in Suburban Base 2, that will appear there. You can see it. And in this menu, you can go to the big screen, which is bigger than a normal screen. We don't have the 4 options yet, so we don't have 200%, but we have 100% and 133%. And so the okay, let's see if that works here. So yeah, sometimes you see everything that's annoying with this system. If you're doing live stream, if you go to another screen in Cubase, the screen disappears. Anyhow, so we have here this Raw Kick, and also in this menu, in the upper menu, you can use the big screen, which I have on. Keyboard up down, you can put on off, turn MIDI preset chains on off. Bank select you can turn on off. External capture mode, this means if you have a dial connected to one parameter, then the parameter starts to change the moment you hit this value of this parameter. So ahead of that, it doesn't change the parameter, which means that you don't have these strange jumps. So you can put it on or off. And then show dials for envelopes. Then the envelopes which you are seeing here in the layers will be dials. So you can put that on or off. Turn faster graphics off. Then you can shut it off, and then they are a bit slower. But some computers, that is a bit of a thing which you could do. So then there is, of course, a check for updates, which is also new. So if you're maybe longer using Raw Kick and you did install this one, this is a new one. And let's say over a month, you can click that and check for updates, and then it will tell you if you have the last version or not. And in case you don't have the last version, you can log in and download the latest version. Okay, so let me see if everything is working here. So that's news about Raw Kick. Yeah, nasty machine. It's a very popular drum machine, mainly among the hardcore producers, but also for EDM and even other music styles. It can be very useful. Yeah, there's a lot of features. You can stack up to 3 layers. And so we update that. And yeah, in the future, we will have, of course, also for Raw Kick, 100, 125%, 150, and 200% size screen sizes. But currently, in the current version, we only have the 100 and 133%. Yeah, I see people jumping in the chat room, we have, of course, very nice music again from Tom. Tom was again funky, and it's a very cool one he did send, so that we would play on later on from Tom. And so let's see what we are going to do today. So I wanted to show you Suburban Base 2. Essentially, we are ready to go. We only check now for bugs which appear sometimes and for creating the presets. So you see the upper part is a bit different from the original one. So this is different now. It looks a bit different. You have the menu here. We will have with the Suburban Base 2 update 100%, 125%, 150, which I'm using now, and 200%. And then you also see keyboard up, down. You can put that off. Program change, external MIDI capture mode, and of course check for updates. So this is also, and we start doing this with the start of Blade 2. So in all our future products, you will have this little menu in the control menu in the upper right corner, which is then very handy to have. So let's see what the chat room says. Yeah, I see Tom is there. Yeah, Tom, I received your email. Thank you. Sorry, I had no time to respond, but it's landed safe and it's ready to go today. And so I checked the live chat room. The gang is indeed there. And what can you do with the XY graphics of Rawkick or Suburban Base? Some very cool things. So I will show this in Suburban Base 2. And after that, or maybe I should show it in Rawkick, and then we go to Suburban Base 2. Okay, so that's maybe a better idea. So I close down, and we go to Rawkick. And it is the case that Rawkick has essentially two XY fields. So Rawkick, if I would go now simply to a default preset, so I go here to examples, I pick a, let's see, these are preset examples, so I need to have a default preset, maybe in the introduction bank, default, here we go. And I noticed that Rawkick still uses, I think, the older bank system, if I'm not wrong. Let me see. That sometimes can confuse me also, because some of our products use the older system with a bank system. And so now, sorry for this movement with the screens. I'm checking here, Rawkick. No, it has a bank folder. No, it uses, now I see what I did. Because I thought, how it's possible that the default in the bank manager is on the last spot. But what I did in Rawkick is add the introduction bank. I added numbers so that I could start with a hardcore presets, then you see a few of other producers, so that this way I could give it a order. That's the reason why the default is not under the letter D, but it's the preset 134 in the introduction bank. So that's a little trick what I did to have it in a particular order. So if you go to a different bank here, you see that it is all a bit different here. They have their own number and it's on alphabetic order. Okay, so let's go back to the default preset. So we have a default preset, and Rawkick can have 3 layers, and it can be a sample or you can have really synthesis. And now layer 1 is active, and this is really synthesis. Now, here you can adjust the sound. So this is really a basic kick. And you can hear that. And we have a raw XY pad, which is essentially phase distortion on this waveform. So when I open this and use this one, you see it makes some strangest distortion to the to the distortion. This is a phase distortion, and you can even use the XY modulated by an LFO, which is inside here. So now it's you see, this is the raw amount. So this is a mix. So you have a mix between the dry and the raw amount, and even the raw itself has a. So this is very similar to the mix amount, but it's the, yeah, we needed to have this mix to make it mix between the original sound and the raw amount. So so you can use the LFO to control the, or you simply can record it. So you can make a recording and then play back. And even edit it. So even you have this movement, you can edit it. You can change the tempo. So it's like what we have in Go 2. Only the XY controls here the phase distortion. And you have the different modes, free mode, mono mode. So you see a firm amount of distortion it produces. So this is the first XY. And then we have an additional XY, which you can use on different things. But for instance, yeah, on the filter it works. So here I could do record, to record something and play it back. Let's have a particular tempo, 1 bar, for instance. Yeah, here it's a bit different. So let's, now it controls, well, let's make this one a bit more. So now this XY is controlled on the cutoff frequency and the resonance. And I think it, so yeah, lots of synthesis is possible. And the XY here, so it's a little XY which you find in Go 2 or yeah, Predator. We have it, of course, in many products, which you can use here to control the phase distortion, to a kind of automated phase distortion, and here to control the filter. And it depends on what you like to do, of course. You hear this movement. And this one is strange, but the moment when you use distortion, then you get the sound they are after. So if you use, it's okay, go back. Of course, this is a typical music style, but that's essentially what you can do with the XY inside a raw kick. By the way, I did last time a interview about it, and yeah, the example is an interesting thing, because here you can see that you use, for instance, the modulation wheel control the partials. So here you see modulation wheel can control the partials. So you have a waveform and one partial, you can throw that up in the volume. Yeah, so many options inside of it. And you can have 3 layers. So you can have, this one is pure synthesis. And if you want to have that together with a sample, yeah, it's a very deep drum machine, and especially focus on the harder music styles. But also some friendly EDM stuff on board. So we have an EDM bank, some very good EDM kicks, drops, and even hip-hop style. And here, this one, you hear combination of a sample yeah, so much inside of it. Raw kick. Okay, let's see if that works out a bit for you, hopefully. Yeah, the raw kick is different from punch. It's a good question because it's more focused on the distortion type of things. And it's 3 layers, and punch is, of course, a whole different story. This one really focused on a particular music style. And that's why we also have in the presets always this thing, which if you go to some of the presets, the producers really use the also the clipping of the engine. So, for instance, there's a bang from the Playa, and for instance here you have, you see the warning, loud bang. So if I would go to this preset here, I need to go down with the volume, otherwise you will jump out of your chair. So if you would play this kind of bass drum to somebody in the 80s, they would say, what's this? But this is the style what they use. And yeah, everybody has its own taste, of course. But we make products for many music styles, and yeah, it's up to you how to use it, of course. So yeah, the raw kick, it's a nice update. We will have in the future more updates for raw kick with bigger screen versions. But I'm also planning again a session with Freek. We had a very nice session. Freek is one of the producers which also was behind the idea for raw kick, together with DJ Promo. So that will be in progress. And as always, you see, our products keep evolving, keep getting new material. So let's go back to Suburban Base 2, which is going to have very soon this update. And so the last stage, what we are doing now, is we need to update, of course, the manual, new presets, and I can show you already some new things we added. So what you see now here, the screen, if you know a bit of Suburban Base, you see now up here it's a bit different. We have a bigger readout for the sample. So now you can really see taiko is used. So now oscillator 1 does this taiko basic waveform, and oscillator 2 has a gong FX and FX. So both are samples. And if you go down here, you see that we also did some changes here. We have this ratcheting, which was, of course, a discussion and an idea that popped up because one Hadley asked so many months ago about how to do ratcheting in this in the sequences of our plugins. And yeah, the way I did at that time was by simply doing double speed here of the sequencer or arpeggiator, and then do it that way. But now by adding ratcheting, you have a little bit more features in terms of and freedom. So you can say on step 7, do twice this note. So then it will be ratcheting 2. So if I have here, so I could here do ratcheting 2, then it plays instead of 1/16th note, it plays to 1/32th note. I hope I pronounced that well. And of course I need to put ratcheting on here. So I put it on. You see here it is 2 ratchet, and even can do 4, but 4 would be 1/64th note. And we added then some nice ideas because now ratcheting is each time playing. So what we did also is add some different modes. So you can have it also first time off and then on playing, of the first time on and then off playing. So let's pick this one off on. Then it first plays without and then with it. And what you can do is then, of course, some other ways is with this velocity. Because with the sequencer, it is the case, if the velocity is with this dial set to velocity, the velocity setting inside your sequencer is the ruling velocity. And so the input doesn't have any influence on the volume of the sound. The sequencer really determines how the velocity is playing. So this is this dial. It's fully set to the left, and then I can use this your velocity keyboard for activating this ratcheting. So now I put it on velocity, and this is the threshold. So if I play soft, there's no ratcheting. And when I play louder, the ratcheting kicks in. Hear that? So they asked about the ratcheting many months ago, and really an interesting idea. But if it only would be the basic ratcheting, I would say, okay, that's too limited. So we did this feature with all the different types of ratcheting, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So that's one of the new features inside Suburban Base 2, and of course it came also over from Blade 2, which was the first one. And this whole ratcheting mode will come over also inside Predator someday, and inside BIT, and you name it. So that's a very cool thing. Yeah, what we also did then here is change a little bit the layout. I'll show that also last week. So this is a little bit bigger, which one is playing and which one you are going to edit. So here you can select the edit page, what you're going to edit, because essentially you have 4 sequences. Sequence A, B, C, and D. You can split them, A and B, with a keyboard split. You can make 4 different splits, or you can select the presets with the upper notes, and you can play back by using a pattern, which is this one here. So here you can select which one plays. So it's a very extensive sequencer, and that's very cool about the Suburban Base 2, that it's not a basic sequencer, it's really having some very cool features. So we need to work hard on doing some good presets that show these features. So this one, oscillator 1. And you see, you can do some cool, and by the way, you also can use, even if you have a sample, you still can use the sub oscillator. Isn't that cool? So, yeah, from that perspective, Suburban Base 2 is far more than a bass synthesizer. You can do a lot of cool things together with the samples in combination with down here the wave sequence, because that's what you currently are hearing is a wave sequence. So if I go to oscillator 2, you see gong FX. That's the basic waveform selected in oscillator 2. But you also hear other stuff. So let's do bypass the FX. 1 second. FX bypass. Well, what you hear is 2 vocal samples, one of the new samples. And you see when I hover with this mouse over this field, I believe I showed it also last week, a menu pops up and you see which waveform you are using on this particular step. So I'm now in oscillator 2, and the sample use is 205, a Vox percussion. When I go here to this one, it's the same, but here on step 9, I use Vox percussion 51. And here in this one, I use Vox percussion 52. And you see that also step 15 is active, but is same as that, which means if you go up here, it's the gong FX. So what you hear is step 1 has a vocal sample, step 4 also vocal sample, step 9 also vocal sample. Sorry, no, again. Step 1 vocal sample, step 4 vocal sample, step 7 is unchanged. So using this gong FX, and then you see again, step 9, a vocal sample, step 12, also a vocal sample, and step number 15 is again the gong. So this is then how you create this. Of course, it's tuned. I also can put on tuning off, which is here. Oh, tuned. So this is just one oscillator, and I put a bit of reverb on it. And the first one is doing. And on step 1 of these oscillator 1 is a 808 kick looped and tuned. So now combined together. Now, of course, you would think, okay, this is get a bit, because it's each time the same. Then we have, of course, this command button here, and you simply say copy sequence to sequence B, and then you say paste sequence. So I have it also in sequence B. So I play now sequence B, and I can change that one and do something different here. So if I could here so I click here, and then I open the menu. So all kind of vocal percussion sounds, and I also can use the little small minus and plus. I'm not sure if you can see this. So sample 2 to 4. Okay, this is sequence B. So now the play mode, I can adjust that now, and I could say, okay, do pattern wise, and then I go A, B, A, B. Then it plays. Okay. Ah, now we have a bug. It's the tuning lost. You can hear that? So we have a bug here. So I know there's a bug, so this is I need to mention to John. John, there is a bug in pattern mode. The tuning is not okay. So if I play pattern mode, listen what happens. It plays A and B, but the tuning is not okay. But of course, you can imagine if you have 4 sequences, you can have a lot of variations. You also could say split A and B. Then you have 2 octaves of sequence A and 2 octaves with sequence B. So. So yeah, you can do a lot of weird stuff with that. And okay, let's save this one. Sequence A, file save preset. And yeah, I think now maybe in the command, this is while doing it now, maybe it's even because copy sequence, maybe it also would be nice to have copy A to B or copy that to that one. That would be also a nice feature. But you see, you can transpose things, you can reset stuff. So it's very extensive sequence. I think in the original presets in the sequencer bank, there's some. Yeah, and of course, what is cool is if you see that if you use a sample, this one uses a taiko, is that you can use granular. So let's see. So you can do some dirty sounds. It depends on the sound. It's really. So if I pick now a different sample, it's really depending on the sample if it's cool. Oy, 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 oy. But this is not the spring drum. Oh, but it's of course a sequence playing here. Weird sound. Very experimental. So it really depends on the type of sound you are using. So when I go now to, that is also new in Suburban Base 2 is the granular mode. By the way, which we're also going to do in a future update in Vector, because Vector also has a very nice range of samples to have granular mode in Vector. So we have plenty of plans for this year. Okay. So we have the new samples. This one is a beat ring. Yeah, the upgrade will be in February, but I'm not sure. It will be not in the first week. So somewhere in the middle of February, towards the end, I think that we will have that one. And you see the beat ring is even tuned. You can play melody. So let's do some grains on that one. It's only getting a bit atonal. But of course, it could be still interesting. So now I can pick a different waveform. The attack also, we described it, the attack has also influence. So you see that if you put grains, you see AT, attack, which has to do with how the granular works. Sometimes you need to put it off to have it effective. So it's very experimental. There's not a way that you can say, oh, when I do this, you get this sound. It's because the original sound is this. Weird, isn't it? So if I go here then to, let's see, what I last time used is in the samples for, which are all new samples, was this water thing, which was... And now granular. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, these sounds are very experimental. It's not always tuned. That's the difficult part of it, I think. Isn't that cool? So this is the water sound with granular. But I also have a choir sound. Dirty, isn't it? So the first oscillator and this one is split, means that the oscillator 1 goes into filter 1 and oscillator 2 goes into filter 2, which is down here, but it's bypass. Weird. Yeah, it's pretty much a good sound for a horror movie, something like that. Is it possible to modulate the grain? That's a good question. I didn't try that yet. Ha! Yeah, that's a very good one. Let's see if we can do that. So I'm going to bypass now. This is the original sample. I put in the grains. Now I go to the modulation matrix, and then I say, okay, modulation wheel, and let's see if the destinations oscillator 2. Yes, you see, here we have all the options. Now grain doesn't appear yet, but I could ask John to add them, because maybe that's possible. I don't know, but maybe it's possible to modulate them. And you could use the modulation wheel of something else. So, yeah, good question. That puts an idea for us. And yeah, especially it's... So if I pick here a different wave. So these are all the new waveforms. So this is a spoon. So I could take, for instance, a 808 bass, which is a new one inside 808 bass, and it loop it. So double click. So it's tuned. So if I could add here the square, you can see I tuned it. But I picked the loop on an earlier point. So it's of course, and then I could use the grains to see. No, it doesn't do that much. I think it's too dark. The sound is too dark. Doesn't have enough harmonics to make the granular do its stuff. So it's better to have a... Yeah, we could take the scrape. That's a very nasty sound, by the way. Very nasty. It's of course one of my own samples. It's a big boil which I purchased in a shop. We were on an island in the Netherlands, and there was a gift shop, and they had a big boil which they normally use for fruit. And yeah, I hit it, and it had a very nice sound. And this one I scraped, so it's a very good sound for making some very dark, undefinable sounds. So this is the clean sound. Let's see what the grain does. Holy moly. Hey, and I see Hans van Even is in the chat room. Hi, Hans. Hans is the guy who develops all the graphics. He is, I drive him always crazy with little details. Nice to see you in the chat room, Hans. So let's go to this bang and use this dirty thing. So that's not so nice. Scrape, here it is again. So now it's more. And combine that. So combine, yeah, what I combine now is essentially a traditional subtractive synth bass sound here. And now I add the scrape. Yeah, it's really a very dirty sound, isn't it? And you split here, and the scrape doesn't go to any. It goes to FX2. I could have. Oh, it's combined, and I could have FX1. 2 is reverb. Yeah, this is something which you could use in a game, music for game or that kind of thing. So I will save this one. This I call Dark Voice Bass, but that's the wrong name. Save preset as Dark Boil Bass because it's a boil. I think the original preset, if we go back, that was from last week, and I used the choir, but that's gone now. So let's see if it pops up now here. Let me see. This is male choir. Here it is. This one we created last week only because we added some more samples. It picked the wrong sample, but this was this sound. So in February we hope to release this one. Oh, for sure. But I'm not sure if it's going to be half February or the third week. So currently we are working now on the so I'm gonna save it again. Dark Voice Bass. So yeah, we will be busy with creating the presets. Save preset. There it goes. Okay, so in Suburban Base 2, these are mainly the new things. So we bigger screen versions, which you can select up here. We have a new range of samples. We have granular once you have a sample selected. We have in the sequencer the ratcheting mode, which is totally new. So yeah, it's very cool what we have now very soon. And of course we expand the presets. I also make, because I also, yeah, it's a very good bass synth. This one is a, okay. This one. That's also cool about Suburban Base 2. Maybe you didn't notice or didn't know that. You also can use oscillator 1 to modulate oscillator 2 for frequency modulation. In this case, it's essentially phase modulation, but we kept it FM because that's very often the term they use for it. And we cannot change the name anymore, otherwise it would not work with the preset. But you see, oscillator 1, it's not going to the filter. So it's shut down for going to the filter, but instead of that, it modulates. Oscillator 2 is essentially a sinus waveform, and by adding, it really adds a little punch to it. So it modulates, and that is another thing which we added. So here you have the envelope LFO section. Envelope 1 is controlling the volume of oscillator 1, so it only modulates this oscillator 2 very short. So I can make it longer. You hear that? And that makes that you can very punchy basses with this system. Of course, somebody asked what you can do with the XY. Yeah, that's a good one. XY, you can select it here, and if you down here is select the XY, you can use the targets. So you can use many targets. In this case, it uses the filter frequency. So these are. And this one doesn't use any samples. This one is using the analog modeled waveforms. And you see, we have some cool features inside the XY. You see here, down here, the modes you can have, the quantum space, you can see. So the XY can be used in different ways. And of course here you could have it also, yeah, here the XY default, it should be essentially, you could have it on the filter, for instance. Not all presets have it, but that would be handy if all presets would have this feature. So you can say X modulation, filter frequency, and the Y modulation, filter the Q. And now it's in neutral state. So if you double click, it goes to the neutral state. And now when I open it a bit here, the amount, so then I can use it for changing the filter. So here's the XY and here is the targets. So you have in total 3 targets for the X and 3 targets for the Y. And down here you have the other settings for this. So the XY, and of course mostly I think on the older presets. Here you see all kind of basic sounds. It's classic Moog style basses, and you see no FX use, so even without FX, a bass can be very good. And here you see that I think once we did the conversion, it has the default this setting, so it's already done in most presets. So some presets might not have a default setting, but if you have the original presets, the XY is in live mode and changes the cutoff frequency and the resonance a bit. So this is one of the default settings. So at the moment when you hit an older preset, there's always something happening if you use this XY. And if you want to see what it's used for, yeah, you only have to look here, down here, the XY, and then you see the targets for the X movement and the Y movement. Okay, let's see on the questions in the chat room. Is it possible with a pitch effects on the release? It's possible. Without touch the wheel, just with XY. Yeah, that will be hard because the XY is active once you record it. So if I would record now the XY, play. Okay, put off the resonance. I could make it visual by, but when I let go the note, it keeps on playing. Let me think how you could do that. Maybe, so it's a good question, if I go to command and I would say, because you can do a set to a vertical line. Now it's a vertical line, goes up and down. See? I can have the amount of points. I will make it 4. So now I have 4. It goes up, down. And then I need to connect that one to the pitch. Yeah, that will be a complex one. I think it is possible, but then you need to time it precisely. So, that will be a hard one. That will be a hard one because it's the, you can say to the XY just move once, so you can go to the mode off in the mono mode, then it moves only once, you see? So if I pick here the pitch, band, pitch, global pitch. Oh no, this is the X, I need to pick the Y movement, of course, sorry. Pitch, global pitch. The moment when I hit the note, the XY starts to play. So that's a bit of a different thing. Then you need to have the XY for a certain moment on one level. That's going to be really hard. But now I let it go on time. Yeah, normally, so it can be done, but I would do it different. So if I would have this type of thing, my suggestion would be, because of the release of the note, if you do that with the release of the note is also very long. You hear? And now the XY is not playing anymore, so... And you wanted to have that it goes down when you leave the note. And if you leave the keyboard, release starts to work. So once I'm playing now and I open the sustain, release is essentially not working. Now I let go, then it starts working. So I would need then an envelope and use an envelope for this trick. And then again, it's not that easy. You need to have global pitch. I need to go one octave higher because you need to start high. Yeah, this is more complex because the sustain needs to be 100%. Okay, I use now, by the way, the shift feature. So if you see the amount here and you look up, you see plus 12 semi. Now it works. But what you need to do is you use a pitch envelope. And the envelope release makes that once you hit let go the note, then the release starts to act, which is on the volume, in the filter, but also here in this pitch envelope. The disadvantage is, because you need to go down, is that this envelope needs to have the sustain on 100% because you need to go down. So once I hit the note, it stays on the sustain level, which is 100%. I let go the note, and down it goes. But you see here, if I do bypass, is that the bass so that's the only thing, is that you need to set this envelope one octave higher. So you need to play then one octave higher. But essentially this will be the trick. So a long release in the amplifier, a long release in the filter, because they need to be long as well. You put the pitch envelope on the general pitch one octave higher. You put the sustain open, and then your release time here is how fast it goes down. If I change the release here, so it goes too fast. So that will be the way to have a pitch going down by using, so the moment you hit let go of the key, then the pitch falls down. So this is the trick. Maybe I should save this one as that you can try it out. Would that be an idea? So let me know in the chat room. I save it in this to be saved. Save preset in folder. I go here and I put it in the blank bank, and I call this preset bass release 4. Here you go. So again, to have this pitch envelope active, the amount is plus 12 semi, so it's 1 octave. You have the attack on 0, sustain on 100%, and then the release time makes how fast the pitch goes down. And of course, you need to have some longer release on the amplifier and in the filter envelope. Another thing what you also can do, if I go simply back to the bank manager and take another bass here, okay, let's... Okay, bass. Okay, it's simply, if you go in the play mode, and you simply change the pitch bend range. So you say it goes -12. And it goes to deep. Yeah, cool. Yeah, guys, I hope you could follow this a bit. So I'll make this preset in the info section. You can download it. It will be in a zip. Copy this preset over to the bank manager in a spot you like to have it. Maybe it's good to have it in the blank bank or anywhere in the other banks where you want to have it. And the bank folder is in Documents, Rob Papen, Suburban Base 2 bank folder, and on your Apple computer, it's in Applications, Rob Papen, Suburban Base 2 bank folder. If you drop it there and you start up again, Suburban Base, it should be there. Okay, guys, we are almost at the end. So there's, of course, time for another very cool demo of Tom Funky Aldrich. I hope I pronounce your back name correctly, Tom. TA is the short name for him. And each week he enjoys us with a very nice demo song. This one uses Punch. Blade 2. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Disco Down. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed as well. I hope to see you next week, guys. Hopefully I can show you a bit more of the new presets and tell a bit more about Suburban Base 2 and yeah, play some presets. And of course, yeah, we see what pops up next week. Stay safe, enjoy creating music, and yeah, we go out with this little tune of Tom called Disco Town.
Weekend Disco.